Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and today we're taking a look at Gap from Arcane Wonders. Now, the game Gap essentially is a number collecting game, uh, kind of like playing like Go Fish, where, in that game you are collecting as many pairs as you can, and whoever has the most pairs wins. I know there's other games very similar to it. That's just the first one that came to mind. Now with Gap, it's kind of takes a little bit of the same mechanic, but except for you have basically kind of a row of cards, similar to, I believe it's called the River in poker. I'm terrible at poker. I could be calling it the wrong thing entirely, but that's just because every time I've tried to learn, none of it makes sense to me. So you have the row of cards, and so when it's your turn, basically you're looking for one of a couple different things. The first thing is cards of the same color, and then so you like say for instance you see uh, a red card, you play a red card, and it's adjacent number in red, then you can bring those over to your pile, or if you put down an 8 and there's another 8 and there's 8 already on the table, then that means you can take the 8s. And so basically the whole goal of the game is to basically collect groups of numbers. So like for example, like if you have say 4 8s, that would be one group, and then if you have like 2 6s, that would be another. And so then what it does is when you're scoring points, it actually mostly scores based on the difference in points from your biggest stack to your lowest stack. And so in that scenario where you had 4 and then 2, it would be 4 minus 2, you get 2 points at the end of that turn. And so when playing, you could easily end up making small amounts of points or large amounts of points. It really depends on the number of players. The more players that you have, the fewer points you're likely going to get in the game. And so it becomes kind of an act of looking at the cards that players are playing and seeing kind of what they're going for, like what collections they've had. So like if you want to screw somebody over, where you see they're kind of like say going for 6s, and then you can basically try to sabotage that by taking the cards above and below for the adjacent ones if you actually have one that matches. And so that way you can basically minimize their threat. What's nice about adding these up is there's only 10 cards in each suit, so basically 0 through 9. And where traditional cards, you also have the Jack, Queen, and King. So you're not having to worry about figuring out those oddball cards and what their points are worth. Now, one thing I really like with the game is the simple design. Look at the card. There's not a lot going on here. Basically it's a shield, the number 2, and also shows you the adjacent numbers to make it really easy. So like number 9 right here, 8 and 0 are your next numbers. 8, you have 7 and 9, 4 and 6 for number 5, and so on. And so as long as you can read those numbers on the cards, it's basically reminding you what to look for in order to actually take them. And you can easily go whole games where the leading point score is going to kind of be trading places as far as which player is which. And the game itself, depending on the number of people you're playing with, can get quite tedious. The fewer number of people, it'll go much faster. And and the game, you're basically playing to a certain number of points. So like whenever I used to play games like Crazy Eights and things like that, we'd always define those points ahead of time, and this game is no different. So that way we knew what our goal was. Fewer points, the fewer rounds are played in order to get to the winner. Overall, we just played simply with too many people, and it just made the game take way too long. That many of the younger players are starting to get bored and becoming disinterested. Um, Overall, I found the game again simple to pick up, simple to learn, simple to play. Which a simple game like this could definitely be a good time in small doses. Definitely not one that I would see return to the table very frequently. Maybe if we're just looking really to change things up, then it has its place there. Take you from the norm if there's a game that everybody prefers to play and needs a break from it. So overall, again, easy to learn, easy to play. The game is enjoyable, but there are definitely better, more engaging card games that I find this one just unfortunately a little too boring for me.